While he was kinda lost in his own head, the bus finally stopped, having reached its final destination, the USJ. Deku stands from the outside looking in. This place was huge, like bigger than he'd ever thought. He scans the place, landslides, rivers, ruins. This place had everything. He stepped inside, Pro Hero 13 beginning her speech. Deku would look around, still scanning the place, Aizawa coming up to him and telling him to pay attention. Deku jumps from this, not suspecting it, quickly turning his head to meet Aizawa's, seeing a glimpse of something as he did. He looks at Aizawa before looking to his left ever so slightly. From the corner of his eyes, a mist appeared in the USJ, swirling and shaking before it shot out. Villains coming out by the hundreds. He looked back at Aizawa before, with wide eyes, shaking his head clear, looking back to the class and speaking, this time using his quirk. Run away. His throat itches ever so slightly, the entire class's legs tensing up and sprinting full force, almost out of instinct, out of the USJ. Aizawa, having just seen the villains, thanks Deku before jumping down himself. Deku calls from a distance, telling the class there's villains in the USJ and to be careful. Due to this, the entire class is still running outside as Korogiri warps up, Ida using his quirk on top of that to sprint full speed back to UA. Deku in the USJ stares Korogiri down, who looks on confused at the lone boy atop the staircase. Where is your class, little boy? And where is All Might? I was told he would be here. Deku, without thinking, once again uses his quirk. Stop. The words ringing in Korogiri's mind and locking his body completely in time. Deku runs over full force at a frozen Korogiri, slamming a kick right into his misty head, followed by 2 shots to the stomach and another kick as time unfreezes again. Korogiri's mist is sent flying backwards, gusts of wind blowing it off, uncovering his metallic body underneath. Korogiri snaps out of it, sending a portal towards Deku, who jumps backwards, speaking once more. Return. The mist slams back to where it came from, and Korogiri is shocked. Deku, not wasting a second, uses a new command. Sleep. Korogiri swangs slightly before slamming to the floor. Deku sighing, thankful that he could beat him. His own quirk was tricky. He looked back at the door, seeing the class long gone, before he looks down the staircase. He sees Aizawa still fighting, Shigaraki and Nomu at the back of the pack watching on, waiting for Korogiri to come back. Deku takes advantage of this, jumping down the staircase to meet Aizawa. Shigaraki notices this, knowing something was up. No kids are being teleported. Korogiri isn't coming back, and now a single kid runs from the top. Shigaraki straightaway summons Nomu. Nomu, kill the brat over there, then the pro afterwards. I want to watch him first. Deku's eyes open wide as in the distance he sees a figure snap its head right at him, lunging like an animal towards Deku quicker than anything he's ever seen. The Nomu rips through the villains in front of him indiscriminately, going right at Deku. Deku flinches slightly, throwing his hands up in a defensive pose, blocking his face as a last-ditch effort, speaking. Heh. It was too late though. The Nomu swung its fist back and slammed against Deku's arms, snapping them on contact. Thankfully, Aizawa had cancelled its quirk last second. Deku though still gets ragdolled across the USJ, slamming against the staircase, slamming it back against the staircase, back first. With 2 broken arms and a broken wrist, he barely stays conscious, watching as the Nomu once again locks onto him after screeching. Deku in his head screams for himself to move, anything, but he couldn't. He watches on as the Nomu ran full force at him once more, this time being stopped by someone. Something. Ida, having made it back to UA much earlier, would have just managed to get someone in time, a towering figure with golden hair. All Might. Don't you worry because I am here. No smile on face. Deku smiles at him. Thank you, All Might. He slumps for a second before forcing himself to stand. Heal. He feels himself healing ever so slightly, the pain subsiding if only a little bit. Cuts clearing up, but arms still broken underneath. He watches as All Might fights Nomu. Aizawa, being overwhelmed by the fodder, cannot help. So instead, Deku stands up. He waits for an opening, swaying side to side until All Might lands a punch that gives him some distance between the two. Fall. Instantly, the Nomu plummets into the floor, the weight on top of it being too much for even it. Deku feeling the impact on himself too, his throat aching and his head ringing. This, though, gave All Might some much needed time. He lands 100 blows on the Nomu at once before Deku's quirk wears off, clocking his fist back and putting his all into it before sending the Nomu flying out of the USJ. Deku, seeing this, smiles before passing out, the adrenaline getting him only so far. All Might then helps Aizawa in the fodder with the fodder as the rest of the heroes who came to lock up the villains. Oh, come. Shigaraki not being able to escape due to no Kirigiri would end up with both of them being locked up. Deku being sent right to the hospital due to his state as Aizawa and All Might are questioned. The rest of the class would get away scot-free, like legitimately scot-free. Maybe they got a little bit tired from running, but that's just about it. All the class visiting Deku in the hospital as he recovers, his arms shattered after the Nomu's punch, needing surgery. He wakes up 2 days later in a daze, seeing Aizawa next to him. He explains the rest of the class is currently asleep, before thanking Deku himself for his work in the USJ. He doesn't reprimand him or anything. Deku feels nice about this, but is unable to speak once more, being quirkless once more for at least 5 days. Deku in these 5 days is discharged back to school and getting people like Momo and stuff to write down his notes for him, due to his broken arms, you know. Deku gets kind of popular from this, Bakugo hating every second of it. That should be his attention, and that should have been him in the USJ. If Deku didn't make him run, none of this would have happened. Class continues from there as normal, Deku getting stuff done for him pretty much until the final day, day 7. Deku getting his cast off and being able to speak again on the day of the UA Sports Festival, being told to keep it pretty minor on quirk usage, but other than that, he's good. Deku would agree to this and makes his way to the festival late, actually, having Bakugo do the speech instead of him as he missed it, only arriving after the obstacle course was already done. He's still allowed to join, Aizawa and All Might vouching for him, joining the same team as in canon for the cavalry battle and making it to the 1v1s without using his quirk at all. He's the first in the battle up, first general studies student, a strange looking one at that. Purple hair, scruffy looking. Deku is reminded of Aizawa. Something about him seemed off. The battle begun and straight away he began speaking, talking down on Deku. How does it feel to be blessed? That type of stuff. Deku straight away knowing what was up. He was one and the same. A voice activated quirk. He knew it too well. Deku interrupted him mid smack talk. Walk out of bounds for me. Shinso's body locks up. In his head, he's screaming. This kid. Of all people, he had to get paired up against this kid? The only kid in the whole of Japan with a quirk similar to his? In his mind, he curses Deku, cursing his strength, but in the end, he couldn't do anything about it. Deku simply outclassed him in every single way. His quirk was better, Deku was stronger and faster, and Deku had better range of attack. There was nothing he could do. Shinso wakes up after falling out of bounds, slamming his hand against the floor. Deku kinda just looks over him at him, like, what's his problem? Before shrugging and walking away. He sits in the stands watching the rest of the fights. Todoroki's Ice Geyser, Ida winning, before he would once again be called out of the locker room, about to face his second opponent, Todoroki. He walks himself down, seeing Todoroki waiting for him at the bottom of the staircase. Deku, thinking this was going to be some sabotaging stuff, would walk right back up the stairs, going another route down, and making his way to the locker room. In this timeline, completely missing his conversation with Todoroki about his family. They're eventually called out, Deku walking on the stage and being met with tons of applause. People actually thought his quirk was top tier. To them, he straight up has mind control, which, you know, was pretty much right. Todoroki's then called out. The crowd equally as excited. You could tell people were interested in this fight. The crowd goes silent as the starting pistol is finally shot. Todoroki slamming his foot down onto the floor as a geyser of ice is slammed toward Deku. Deku sees it coming, opening his mouth and taking a deep breath in before speaking. Explode. People in the crowd are shocked. Their ears are filled with a strange ringing, and after those words were said, watching on as the ice explodes into a million pieces in front of them, completely disappearing and filling the arena with the smoke. Bakugo in particular was shocked. Deku could do that? That damn copycat. The smoke looms around, Deku rushing in and taking a beeline left, trying to keep a grasp over his position in the ring. He finds the edge of the smoke, seeing a faint shadow of Todoroki in the distance. With a smirk on his face, he looks at him, once again breathing in before speaking again. Fly away. The smoke in front of him slams in the opposite direction, a path clearing in front of him on his way. On his way in front of Todoroki. His words echoing throughout the stadium. The path clearing, heeding. The path clears, heading right at Todoroki, hitting him and sending him flying. The stadium cheers, watching the figure slam out of bounds, watching as it shatters against the wall. Horrified until once again a geyser of ice comes shooting at Deku, this time from the right. Deku's eyes widen, looking over to see the ice shards he shot out of bounds, smashed into a million pieces. He looks back up at the ice that Todoroki sent, watching as it got closer and closer. Much like in canon, Deku wasn't done yet. He looked up slowly and spoke. Shatter. The ice in front of him cracked slightly before turning into mush in front of both of them. Deku, using this to his advantage, rushes in at Todoroki, slipping more ice that he sent at him. He gets in decently close, pausing Todoroki in the middle of the ring, rushing in and sending a mean kick to his stomach. Todoroki feels this but can't move, powerless as Deku wails on him. As Deku's quirk runs out, Todoroki slams backwards, all the impacts hitting at once as Todoroki coughs blood. He didn't think he was going to beat this hard. He slams his foot down, Deku being caught this time and being half frozen in an instant. The crowd going nuts as Todoroki shakes himself awake after the onslaught. Deku looks at himself. He was frozen? He thinks for a second, watching Todoroki on the floor. He hasn't used his left side. Perfect. Deku speaks. Melt. The ice turning into water and dropping into a puddle on the floor before evaporating in front of him. Todoroki's shocked by this. The whole time, Deku could have just melted it. But now Todoroki was getting more and more frozen. Neglecting his fire side has started to take an effect on him. Deku rushing in once more with step left, facing Todoroki's fire side and clocking his fist back. Deku thinks of a command. He would smirk, having watched Kirishima's battle with Tetsu before. Harden. Deku's hand hardens like Kirishima's skin, turning jagged and sharp as it impacted Todoroki's side. Deku slams his kidney, Todoroki's vision going white for a second before he sent flying backwards once more, being close to the edge, going into his head like in canon, remembering his backstory and stuff. This time though, Deku is clueless, so he keeps rushing in. Todoroki slamming to the floor and barely getting up, as Deku does so, about 5 meters away from him. Todoroki finally has enough, closing his fist as fire shoots from his side, ice crystals forming below his feet. Deku looks on in shock but kind of excited. He smirks. Took you long enough. Too bad though. Return. Todoroki's fire is straight away dismissed, as is his ice, returning back to Todoroki, a feeling he's never felt before. It was strange. Now, pause. Todoroki's once again frozen, Deku walking him down with a smirk still on his face. You know, you should use both sides more often. I could tell you were crazy strong. Sorry it's gotta end like this. Now, disappear. Todoroki goes from 1 meter in front of Deku to slamming into the outer-bound walls in legitimately a second. The crowd not even seeing Todoroki hit the walls. He was just there. He smacks it and slumps against the wall before being completely knocked out. Deku getting a cheer louder than anything they've done thus far, and getting his way into the final round against a familiar little rodent, Bakugo, walking into the locker room and seeing him already sitting there. No phone, no music, dead, silent, staring at his palms and looking at the floor. This might be an issue. Anyway, that's the end of part 3. I know this series is long, probably the longest I've done yet. Well, maybe not the Chainsaw Man one, but you know, that was ages ago. If you like this, please like and subscribe, and if you want to see more, check out the stuff in the description. I do have a Spotify for when you're working out and stuff. Good for offline use. I do have a podcast up and running too with all my full-length movies. Please try and get me to 1,000 subs by the end of the year. I would like... That would mean so much to me. You know, if these AI, like, these bots, the text-to-speech bots can get like 10,000 views a video, like, come on bro, crazy. Anyway, catch ya, stay safe.